Have you ever been enjoying something, but you couldn't quite enjoy it perfectly because in your head you were worried about missing out on something else? You're enjoying a quiet evening in, but you're thinking about the fact that it's also trivia night and you're missing it. You're taking the day off of work or school, but what other people are doing without you keeps crossing your mind. Or, in my case, you're reading a book you enjoy, but you can't stop thinking about all the other books you haven't read yet. Now, this experience, or a variety of it, is called FOMO, and you know about it, the fear of missing out. It's just that feeling that somewhere something is going on and you're not going to get to know about it. And that can just create a lot of anxiety and get in the way of you enjoying what you're doing right now. Like I said, I deal with this primarily with reading. I'm overwhelmed by the sheer amount of literature there is available, the sheer amount of great literature there is available to me, and the fact that I'm never going to be able to finish it all. And earlier this year, I was having a really hard time. I was skipping around through multiple books and I couldn't finish anything because a couple of pages in, I would feel the call to try something else and I didn't want to miss out on anything. But ultimately, I ended up missing out on everything because I wasn't finishing anything. And then out of nowhere, I accidentally cured my FOMO. And if you'll stick with me, I'll explain how. I was reading a short story called The Boundary by one of my very favorite authors, Wendell Berry. And the story takes place in Kentucky in the 60s. And this character named Matt Feltner, he's a very old man, he's lived a long life, is taking a walk to see the boundary line of his farm. And I won't go into the whole story, but at some point, deep in the woods, Matt pauses and looks up. And then the book says this. And stick with me for a second, because this is going to really pay off. A water thrush moves down along the rocks of the stream bed ahead of him, teetering and singing. He stops and stands to watch while a large striped woodpecker works its way up the trunk of a big sycamore, putting its eye close to peer under the loose scales of the bark. And then the bird flies to its nesting hole in a hollow snag still nearer by to feed its young, paying Matt no mind. He has become still as a tree, and now a hawk suddenly stands on a limb close over his head. The hawk loosens his feathers and shrugs, looking around him with his fierce eyes. And it comes to Matt that once more, by stillness, he has passed across into the wild inward presence of this place. Wonders, he thinks, little wonders of a great wonder. He feels the sweetness of time. If a man 82 years old has not seen enough, then nobody will ever see enough. Such a little piece of the world as he has before him now would be worth a man's long life, watching and listening. And then he could go 200 feet and live again another life, listening and watching, and his eyes would never be satisfied with seeing, or his ears filled with hearing. And then this is the part that cured my FOMO and gave me a whole new mindset. It says, whatever he saw could be seen only by looking away from something else equally worth seeing. I'll read that again. Whatever he saw could be seen only by looking away from something else equally worth seeing. And as soon as I read that, I realized I don't need to be afraid of missing out. The only way I can experience anything worth experiencing is by missing out. I'm going to miss out on really wonderful books and experiences and friendships. Those are going to happen, but that is a good thing. It means I live in a world where I'm surrounded by wonderful opportunities and wonderful cool things. When you move to a new city or go to a new college, there's a bunch of other cities and colleges you're not going to, and a lot of them are probably great. There are wonderful things happening everywhere that I'm not a part of. And that's fantastic. No matter how much I read, I'll never get through all of the greatest books in the world. It just won't happen. And I could do two things with that knowledge. I could either panic and have the fear of missing out and think, I gotta read faster, I gotta get through as many of these as I can. Or I could realize that's possibly the best thing that's ever happened to me, because that means I will never, ever run out of cool things to read. I'm gonna read that quote from the book again. Whatever he saw could be seen only by looking away from something else equally worth seeing. You are going to miss out on things. When you choose something worth reading, or someplace worth going, or somebody worth marrying, you can only read that book, or move to that place, or marry that person by looking away from other books and places and people that might have been equally worth your time. Now, a quick warning, there is one way to actually truly miss out, and that's to not commit to anything. To never pick a book because you're not sure if it's the best one, never move because you're not sure if it's gonna be the best city, and to stay out of relationships because you want to keep your options open. If you try and keep your options open forever, you'll end up, at the end of the day, having done nothing at all, and you will truly have missed out. Remember, everything worth looking at can only be seen by looking away from something else that could have been equally awesome. Thanks so much for watching, and I do have a fun little thing to share at the end if you want to stick around. So this is my bookshelf of books that I have not read yet or have not finished yet. and it's pretty full, and it's actually a little bit intimidating to look at. I don't feel guilty about having unread books in the house. I have a whole video on that if you want to watch it, but I decided to put them in one place and just see what the damage was. So I'm slowly going through these eventually. But what I wanted to share with you is this bookshelf. It spins in circles, which is pretty cool. And the cool thing about it, I think, is that it was actually given to me for free, which as a new YouTuber, I've been doing this for less than a year, is pretty exciting. The company who makes it, they're called Fly City, reached out to me via email, and they said they enjoyed what I made and would I like a bookshelf? And I looked around at all the books I had stacked up on my floor, and I emailed them back and said, yes, please. They said, how many shelves? I said, the biggest one you have. So anyway, I put it together myself. It was kind of like assembling IKEA furniture, and they've given me a discount code if you'd want. So obviously don't go just buy one of these to support me. I already got my free bookshelf. I'm happy. But if you are in the market for a bookshelf and you want something that kind of fits in a corner and will spin around so you can access it, then you can click on the link in the description and you can get 10% off using the code there. But yeah, I just thought that was cool and I wanted to share that with you in case you need something like that.